Let's continue with the last time we talked about the fundamental, looking from a distance, the advantage of a college theory. We talk about, end result versus the steps that leads to the end result. We actually mean it. If you think about this, the key difference between college theory and the current resume-based system is that the resume looking back you look at them retrospectively and to remember, try to remember some milestones of your achievement. But in our case, we actually forward looking. We're looking ahead and really accumulate, really save every small, seemingly small steps. And then in the end, we come to a big picture of who we are. So that's very important. We have to go through the time process. There's no other way of doing that. So, and that's the real difference between our system and the previous system. We have to accumulate the data one bit of a time. I can't stop thinking that when you look at the uh, social media profile, you see a lot of people, they say, the account was created June 2026, but they say they already have 100M. 100M means the 100 million followers. That's, that's an easy way to tell if it's something's real, something is not a fake. Because if you only created it in June 2026, how can you possibly get 100 million followers? That's just the line. That's a big red flag for imposters, impersonations. So that's the difference, for real. That's the difference between real and the fake. For real people, you have to, accumulate your result day by day, even hour by hour, like Taylor Swift. I don't know if it's real her, but she was saying that 2 o'clock in the morning, I might have some notes to myself, and then you have some moment of uh, thought between shows, all this kind of thing, you really have to accumulate. There's no other ways. So that's the beauty of the college theory. If you accumulate it, if you do that now, like from today, then things will grow up. It's just like investing in the stock market. If you start early, it always matters. You have to accumulate enough days to make it real. Otherwise, we know you're fake. Okay. So that's one thing that we have to take the time process very seriously because that's how we separate ourselves, from others. When the others are still not taking college theory, they just do whatever they're doing, even though they try hard. At the end of the day, when the time really need to be applied, they cannot remember all the things. And also they cannot have the verify, no verifications. So those kind of things, our advantage has to be accumulated, forward looking. So that's one thing. The other thing that I've been also thinking about is that you have to paint a broad brush. I mentioned that briefly last time, but what do we mean that? Broad brush means that you have to accept all kinds of achievement. You know, what about you have an idea that like 2 o'clock in the morning, like Taylor Swift says that 2 o'clock in the morning come into your head, you know you have like an epiphany moment, and then you put it down because it's easy. Even in lying in your bed, you can still speak to your phone and to make the voice memo, and then you can share with somebody, and then make that turn that somebody into your verifier. So the total game is very different. We have to, and that's also the thing that the current model, the current application, college admission or job application is that they try to cut people into a fixed mold. Okay, so that's we can, a fancy way to say that is like optimization traps. Why is that? Because a lot of the rich family, they hire $500,000, for human consultant. What is that for? Therefore, the goal is to kind of game the system. You know, First, whatever you do, it doesn't matter because consultant will tell you, you are weak on this because Harvard asked for this, not for that. So you imagine there's a conversation between the kids and the top net worth parents. Say the kid says, "Dad, should I put on my basketball?" Dad says, "No, you don't waste your time because Harvard never mentioned basketball. They don't care." So, so that's kind of thing. So you try to optimize it. You fit yourself into the mold, into the non preferences and requirement, and anything outside of that mold, it's basically, the parents are telling you, the consultant telling you, forget it. No need to bother because it doesn't bring you any credit. That's a bigger problem. Why? Because human beings are, you know, inherently diverse. We eat different food. We wear different clothes. We have a different talent. Some people are just, very talented in acting and singing. Other people are not. I mean, like me, I can't even sing any high tones. Those kind of things. So you have to. The natural way is to acknowledge the diversity, you know, and then acknowledge that people are different. Acknowledge that we don't want to make people fit in perfectly into any one of the schools or colleges or jobs, because that way you have some damages. You reduce the adaptivity. You can only survive at Harvard, but not in MIT, not in Princeton, not in Yale, because their requirement is different. So it's a tragedy that we don't want to game the system. We want to keep our diversity. The way to do that is that you just accumulate anything, that is different. Because human beings, you don't have to looking for diversity. We are diverse. We are already different. And not only that one person different from the others, but each individual has different dimensions, aspect, advantages and weaknesses. You just need to, bring that up, to show people that real you, a real person, real human being. It's not perfectly, like I said, from start to finish, just a straight line. That's never real. I remember reading a girl, high school. She quit school because her dad, who owns a farm, and then was sick, hospitalized. So she decided to quit school, and then she run the farms. And then in the end, she's been accepted by many schools. Why? Because that story is just believable. And then that's real her, real person. Okay. And then also we have read another report. Somebody was applied for like applied and actually accepted by 264 colleges, and I just basically, you might say it's not that really meaningful, but he decided to challenge the record. The previous record was something like 250 or something, and then he decided to try like 200. His first name is Patrick. I don't remember his last name, but he basically applied to so many people, and then so many colleges, and then accepted by 264. And then the scholarship that accumulated is a multi-million dollars for him. Good for him. Yeah, seriously. The thing is that the way he does it, it's not really recommended by college theory because he's using the same application material, basically application same set of application material, and to apply different college. That's not what we recommended. Of course, most people won't even bother to apply 200 or even 100, or most people. Some institution recommended only like 8 to 10 college. That should be enough. So the diversity, you'd have to take that in. So a lot of the diversity. For example, you have to remember that going back to I was saying that for achievers and for the verifier, their job is basically observe and then explain it. I was thinking the other day. I was reading watching the movie, the clips on Instagram, that anyone but you. There was one lady. I mean, played by Sydney Sweeney, and she had a piece of napkins on her shoes. She was not aware of that. And then the guy was, Glenn Powell, rushed over and then step onto the piece of napkins, and then so it's no big deal. It's not life threatening, right? But it can be embarrassing thing. But the guy was, considerate enough to step that on others to, so she won't be looking like ridiculous, right? So those kind of things, it can have. Is that an achievement? Yes, definitely. By our definition, definitely achievement. Okay, but however, you don't just jot down that what is that what it did, because that in and of itself is not that significant. It's not a big deal, but you can have a different interpretations. And that is the interpretation. You have to do it yourself. Otherwise, people will interpret it for you. And that may or may not in your favor. So let's stop here.